gonna backtrack. And you should've kept my name out your mouth. As we go, how it all turned out. When you try to use my name for clout, keep on going, think it's something you could talk about.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the channel. Back again, girl. We back again. I wanted to do today's Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. I did want to hold on. I got something weird going on with my lighting here. I did want to do this. Hold on. There's always a balance between like the light actually being bright enough on my face so that y'all could see me and me being able to actually see. Because after a while, and the while for me is not very long, I can't with these lights. It's too bright. I actually don't even have one right here, which is why the light looks so weird. I only have one coming from over there and one right here, but that's because I can't have something just like, if you get it, you get it. Anyway, okay, so another day, another filing by ROC Nation CEO Desiree Perez. This time we are back in the Damore Hadley verse. Now, big news for Damore Hadley in general. She had the lawyer from Reed Smith, what's her name, Laura Gatz, try to get a restraining order against her. Now, I think she may have been successful in getting a temporary one. But then Damore had been fighting back. And whenever they had the last hearing, whenever they have hearings, you know, she goes. And then when they had the last hearing, still just looks weird. Something weird with this light. Maybe it's because it's too warm or something. Or maybe it's because I'm greasy. Looking kind of oily, girl. Store-bought, don't worry. Anyway, so let me get back to what I was doing. Okay, so thank you so much, Christopher Jones, for the 199 super sticker. Thanks so much to Kill with Kindness 84 for the 199. Good morning, cousin. Good morning to the cousins in the chats. I know I'm whispering. It's because I'm greasy, girl. I mean, such a girl. Thank you, Kay. That's very nice, KJ. Okay, so I was saying, Damore, she has recently, yesterday, she had a big win. That lawsuit got dismissed. That temporary restraining order got dismissed, or excuse me, voluntarily withdrawn, it appears. Now, I did see this on Twitter, so that's where my source is or whatever. So there was actually going to be like social media accounts and stuff that were going to come or not accounts, but like actual human beings from social media. No, it's too bright over there. That's the issue. From social media, people who run these social media accounts were going to come and be witnesses for Damore, but then Damore was going to actually file a motion just to dismiss it. I don't know if she was going to do anti-slap. I don't know if wherever in Florida, wherever that has, they have the anti-slaps. Not really sure, but the news was put out yesterday on Twitter, at least, that the Laura Gatz, the lawyer who from Reed Smith, who is trying to get a restraining order against Damore for cyber stalking and all kinds of stuff, is going to give it up. She's giving it up, but the story isn't over. The story doesn't end there because, of course, there is a new filing as of yesterday as well, which actually relies on the arguments in this thing. Actually, rely on that temporary restraining order, and all of these cases are kind of starting to web on top of each other. There are some familiar characters in these stories. ROC Nation, Quinn Emanuel, of course, Jay-Z gets mentioned here and there, although I don't believe Jay-Z is specifically being sued here. No, he's not. Look, I have the filing right here. No, he's not. Just ROC Nation. And that's because probably, Desiree is the CEO of ROC Nation. I do have a playlist on this stuff. It's like a Jay-Z, Beyonce, ROC Nation playlist. I have been putting the Damore stuff in there too. But yesterday, and I wanted to come on here this morning and tell y'all as early as I could, because I may go live again later this afternoon on the Milagro Cooper deposition. It is about 400. It's like about exactly 400 pages long of reading. So if I do that, I may start around, noon or after that. I don't really want to have to do 2 videos of it, but so I'm hoping we'll be able to do 1, but I think it may be ambitious for me to try to do that as a second live stream of the day. So we're just gonna have to see. Okay. Hello, 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 everybody. Shout out to Birmingham Leprechaun. I know you've been busy, girl. I know you've been busy. I'm like at a different time today, so probably some people that have been missing my other lives are gonna be in this one. But anyway, I did. I know. I'm trying to. I was gonna say I'm trying to get into the case. I am kinda into it. Like, I've already read a lot of this stuff, but I don't know if I've actually made any videos, like, specifically dedicated just to that. I may have. I don't know, girl. I mean, I'm making a video all the time. So, I am going to be getting into the case. I was a little relieved, but also a little bit disappointed to learn yesterday that the trial itself has been pushed off again. Is that true? Where's Two Frames Media? Two Frames Media cousin, do we have confirmation that the Milagro trial has actually been moved from October to November? I mean, excuse me, from August to November. That's true. Who else would be in here who would know? Only One Baby, do you know? Is her trial is it confirmed? Kill with Kindness, do you know? Okay. Shout out for Evan's sake. Oh, that's a funny name. Shout out to you. Hey, chat. Hello, hello. So let me pull up this document. It was filed yesterday, and it is in the part of the web that has Demore. Okay, Demore Hadley. She is the daughter. Only One Baby doesn't know. Thank you for responding. She's the daughter, Demore. She's the daughter of Desiree Perez. Desiree Perez is the CEO of ROC Nation. So we've been in this universe. We've been in this ROC Nation verse. And so is the rest of the social media world and the online world and the media. All of a sudden, it's interesting. All of a sudden, all this ROC Nation related stuff is hitting the news. But yeah, I mean, we have this Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez case, which is going on. I think I would consider that to be in this universe. Then you have the Milagro, Megan Thee Stallion versus Milagro case, which I would consider to be in this universe. You have this lawsuit, which is huge. And then there's a bunch of lawsuits that have sprung up off of this one. Like that temporary restraining order thing with Laura Gatz. And yeah, all these filings are getting done in this case right here. So this is the one where Demore sued her mom and the CEO of ROC Nation, and she also sued ROC Nation. So this was filed yesterday. And what is it? Defendant Desiree Perez, this is the ROC Nation CEO, is motioning for sanctions. Now, I think she might have already got sanctions or at least attorney's fees. So it's Desiree Perez motion for sanctions based on what? Improper and vexatious litigation tactics. Okay, so right off the bat, I feel or I wonder and I question why this is being posed as a motion for sanctions instead of just an amendment or a countersuit or something like that. I don't know. So Desiree says, pursuant to the court's authority, this is about a 20, this document itself, like the filing, like the substantive part, like the written part is about 20 pages. It's 22 pages. But then there's a bunch of exhibits attached to the back of it, which makes it 91 pages long. Probably not getting into all the exhibits per se, but we will read that first 22 page we will read or I will read the first 22 page section because that's like the filing without the exhibits. So it says pretty much Desiree, the CEO of ROC Nation, is moving for sanctions against Demore and Demore's husband, Javon, and their lawyer. So Desiree wants to get sanctions against also the lawyer. Why? You might be wondering. Well, it says based on their, quote, improper and vexatious litigation tactics. Sanctions are warranted because, okay, so they're calling them the Hadley team. So when it says Hadley team, that means Demore and her husband and their lawyer. Hilton Napoleon. Sanctions are warranted against them because they are, quote, purposefully weaponizing. Oh, wow. Purposefully weaponizing the civil justice system. See, I'll be filing stuff like this all day. I would be filing stuff like this all day. That's probably why the Lord doesn't give me unlimited money. Because if I had unlimited money, I'll be filing stuff like this all day. Do you know how bad I've wanted to sue somebody and say sanctions are warranted because these people are purposefully weaponizing the civil justice system? I mean, my God. Anyway, is that actually what's going on here, though? Let's read further and see. Desiree says that DeMore and Javon and their lawyer are, quote, purposefully weaponizing the civil justice system by using a demonstrably false and sensationalized narrative to support a wholly improper media campaign. Whoa. A wholly improper media campaign. What else? The list goes on. Engaging in bad faith litigation tactics, including coordinating with third parties to launch a social media smear campaign. Oh, wow. She might have learned that word from Blake Lively or something, speaking of social media smear campaigns. Using manufactured evidence, all aimed at strong-arming a settlement. In sum, the Hadley team has caused significant harm that cannot be undone. And then they go into the preliminary statement. Now, again, this is by Desiree Perez. She is filing for sanctions against DeMore and Javon and their lawyer. By word and deed, the Hadley team has demonstrated that they do not seek to litigate this case on the merits. Rather, it is clear that Ms. Hadley's lawsuit, which is full of false and salacious allegations, was filed solely to serve as content and fodder for the Hadley team's long-planned, coordinated, and defamatory social media campaign undertaken for the express purpose of what? What are they saying the purpose is? What does Desiree think the purpose is? Leveraging a settlement as part of this, quote, scheme. The Hadley team has directly and through third parties maliciously slandered, defamed, embarrassed, and sought to intimidate the CEO of ROC Nation, Desiree Perez. They have also harmed ROC Nation, the company for which Desiree is the CEO, and likewise, they defame and humiliate and target others related to the lawsuit. The Hadley team has chosen to litigate this case in the court of public opinion, using the civil justice system as a prop for defamatory attacks, rather than a forum to air their purported grievances, erroneously believing this would be a way to a quick settlement. Okay, so we're one page in, and this word settlement keeps getting brought up over and over, so I'm wondering what that's about. Full disclosure, I've already read this document, but now I'm reading it to y'all. To fuel this aggressive and ruthless social media campaign. Aggressive and ruthless social media campaign. Wow. It's almost kind of like, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about Darvo, right? Thank you so much, Kill with Kindness, for the $4.99. A federal gag order remains in place, barring all parties from publicly discussing the matter. The trial is set to begin November 17th, 2025. So in 3 months. That's the Milagro one, right? Thanks so much for that $4.99 super chats. Good morning to the cousins in the chat. Thank you, New Life Plan, for the $4.99 super chat. Thanks for your diligence following on this topic, sitting on my front porch, catching a breeze, listening. That sounds delightful. Yeah, there's like only saw the subpoena of Ack and Aiden, so it's academics, and Aiden Ross to provide testimony against Milagro. I mean, Rando from Iowa, I feel like I almost like kind of forget who's writing it. You know what I mean? I mean, personally, I don't know. I wasn't there. I mean, I don't know these people. I don't know them from Adam. I interviewed Demore once on my other channel, and we haven't spoken. I haven't talked to her since. So, I mean, I don't know like what anything like specific going on other than what's in the public record like y'all do. To fuel this aggressive and ruthless. So Desiree goes on and she's trying to get sanctions against her daughter and her son-in-law and their lawyer. To fuel this aggressive and ruthless social media campaign, the Hadley team has engaged in a pattern of making demonstrably false statements, both big and small, in court filings and on social media. Some lies are so detached from reality that they are easily disproven. Okay, so easily disproven. All right, I can't wait to see how it's disproven, because now she said it's easily disproven. So let's see. For example, yes, the absurd allegations that Miss Perez is in a Mexican drug cartel and that she moves like a mob boss. But the Hadley team knows full well that Miss Perez is not in a drug cartel or a mob boss. Okay, wait, hold on. So that was the example? Hold on, that's not a very good example. Wait, easily disproven means there's proof. Easily disproven means there's proof. How do you disprove that you're in a drug cartel? Now, to be very clear, I am not asserting, nor do I believe that Desiree Perez is, in fact, in a Mexican drug cartel. I do not think that. I do not believe that. However, I do not know that she isn't. Does that make sense? I don't know for a fact she's not. But I mean, if you're going to ask me, over, under, yes, no, is she in a Mexican drug cartel? I would say no. But I don't know her. What I'm taking a little bit of issue with, though, is her argument here, because it's like, okay, so it's so easy to just disprove I'm not in a Mexican drug cartel. And what's the proof she provides? None. She doesn't even actually say I am not in a drug cartel. She just says the Hadley team knows full well that that Desiree Perez is not. And it's like, how would she know what they know? That's not proof. That's not easily disproven. Like that, like easily disproven would be like, if somebody's like, she's a convicted PDF file. And it's like, well, that's easily disproven because if you just search her criminal record, there's no allegation of that ever, or whatever, something like that. Like these things would be easily disproven. Or like, if somebody said, well, so-and-so, let's say it's Desiree Perez was at the BET Awards on such and such night. Well, in fact, and indeed, there's pictures and evidence, lots of evidence that's all over the place that she wasn't at the BET Awards on that such and such night. She was somewhere else. This is the kind of thing that I would think would mean easily disproven. But I was thinking she was going to lead with something really obvious here. But she's just like, well, they say I'm in a gang, but they know I'm not. It's like, well, do they? I don't know that they know you're not. I don't know. I don't really know what this is supposed to be trying to prove. It's kind of like just words. The Hadley team knows full well that Miss Perez is not in a drug cartel, nor is she a mob boss. And again, y'all, I'm not saying she is. I'm just reading this motion for sanctions, okay? I don't think she is. I don't believe she is. I'm not asserting that she is. Leave me out of it, okay? I'm just reading this public court document. Thank you. Another example. Okay, good. Maybe this example will be better than the first. Another example of a big lie propagated by the Hadley team is that Miss Perez planted a listening device in Demore's bedroom. Okay. Then Desiree says, and this is why I was like, okay, I got to get on here and I got to read this, because Desiree is saying it never happened. Desiree said she did not plant a listening device. She said this never happened, and Demore's team's proof of this allegation, which is a picture of the alleged listening device, was debunked, as it was proven to be the components of a toy. Okay, wait, hold on. Again, I did read this, and she does say some other stuff later, so, we'll get to it. But for the purposes of commenting on things as they come up, a toy can be a listening device. Okay, a toy can't be a listening device. Again, she goes into a little more detail about this so-called alleged toy later, but it's just, I mean, these huge lies, and it's like, where in the proof? Then she goes on to another one. A third big lie is that 2 photographs of Demore that Desiree included in her complaint against Javon were AI generated. Okay, so Demore says that some pictures were AI generated that Desiree used in a lawsuit, and Desiree said this is also easily disproved because these pictures were taken by Miss Hadley herself and recovered from her cell phone, accompanied by the irrefutable metadata. Okay, this is very complex and complicated stuff. So, did someone take a picture? What time? Where was the picture taken? Did they try to delete the picture? Is it AI? These things are not easily disproven. You actually have to get experts involved in court to prove certain things like that. Metadata. Did you say the word metadata or metadata? Shout out to the UK cousins. You say metadata. You got to get expert involved. So again, it takes away, in my opinion, from the credibility that, if any, that Desiree could have had in this filing, because she's acting like this stuff is so easy to prove, debunked and proven to be a toy. Okay, but toys can be listening devices. I'm going to need more information. 2 photographs that Desiree included in her complaint against Javon were AI generated, which is, quote, easily disproved, as these pictures were taken by Demore herself and recovered from her own cell phone. Well, what if Demore says, nuh-uh? Then you got to get experts involved. So these things are not easily disproven. Things that you have to get metadata involved isn't easy to prove and disprove. You have to pay somebody to come sit and be an expert and look at the case. I mean, there's a lot involved. It's complicated, in my opinion. Questions like this come up. T with Tia says, their cell phones were cloned. Right. I do remember Demore saying she something along the lines, and I do have the interview. Y'all should go and watch it and take it straight from her. But she said something along the lines of, yeah, like her cell phone was pinging in New York, even though she was in Florida. And her opinion is that is because her iPhone was so-called cloned, so that someone somewhere at the headquarters of Rock Nation had a cloned copy of her phone and could see everything she was doing on her phone, looking at her emails, looking at her pictures, looking at her text messages. Now, is that true? Is that not true? I do not know, because I was not there. I did not look at the phone. I do not know. I'm just telling you what is being alleged and what has been alleged. So if Demore, for example, were to say, I did not take those pictures, they were AI generated, and it was because this psychotic freak cloned my phone, like for example, if Demore were to say something like that, then it isn't very easily disproven, right? Now it's in dispute. In addition to the big lies, well, those are pretty weak. I mean, frankly, those are weak. Easily disproved, that you got to get an expert involved to easily disprove this. And it's like, it's really interesting to me that Desiree is taking all this energy up to say, instead of focusing on the lawsuit, they want to do this court of public opinion thing. But it's like, well, instead of focusing on the lawsuit, you keep focusing on getting experts involved before discovery's over. These people keep trying to get more sanctions this and more sanctions that. It's like, she's already had to give the sanctions. She's already had to give the $2,500, or she owes $2,500. Like, they're just trying to beat her up. And that's, I guess fine. I mean, I think it's unethical in my personal opinion. That's just my opinion. I think it's unethical to do this to your child. I think it's bad karma, and I think you're going to go to hell for it. But I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there, and I certainly won't be in hell to find out who goes there. So I don't know. In addition to the, quote, big lies, the Hadley team propagated dozens of smaller lies to bolster their false narrative. For example, Javon claimed on his LinkedIn page as recently as August 11th, 2025, that he was employed as an assistant at Rock Nation for 4 years. This is a lie. Mr. Hadley never worked for Rock Nation. How does this bolster anything, though? Similarly, In interviews with social media personalities, DeMore falsely stated that she was a social worker and she was not, and that Desiree went to law school and she did not. So Desiree's like, I never went to law school. Then the lawyer, quote, also falsely claimed that Desiree never owned the car that she purchased for and gifted to Miss Hadley. Yet Yet the Florida DMV records say otherwise. And the lawyer, Mr. Napoleon, represented DeMore in litigation about the car, so he should know it was untrue. And again, they've already been in all this litigation, and like they just keep going. They just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep abusing, according to my opinion. I mean, this looks like an abuse of the legal process, in my personal opinion. And it also looks like demons. It also looks like clown demons, in my personal opinion. But that's just me. What do I know? These are only a fraction of the smaller falsehoods regularly and repeatedly propagated by the Hadley team. This demonstrates bad faith, delusions, and lack of due diligence. You see, they have to get in the call you a lunatic, call you crazy, say you have delusions, because whenever the bad guys are backed into a corner, they often do this, in my personal experience and opinion. Thank you, Kel on Earth, for the $2 super chat. Happy good morning, cousins. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, with mom like this, who needs an enemy? Truly. Desiree brings this motion for sanctions because, as set forth in more detail below, the Hadley team has planned and created a false narrative. Again, and this is where I'm starting to wonder, why didn't they just amend the complaint? 2, repeatedly filed submissions that contain blatant lies to support the false narrative. Buttressed by salacious and tabloid-esque allegations, references to wholly unrelated public figures, and inclusion of events that occurred more than 27 years ago, launched a vicious character assassination of Desiree Perez and ROC Nation through a targeted and coordinated social media campaign based on the false narrative. Number 4, maliciously enlisted others with the lawyer's direct involvement, including social media personalities known to spew lies. They can't help themselves, y'all, poor things. Social media personalities known to spew lies and engage in personal attacks online, and to amplify the relentless, defamatory, and humiliating social media campaign. And number 5, disregarded and violated court rules, proper procedures, and deadlines. The Hadley team scheme essentially amounts to extortion and is the antithesis of the appropriate and ethical use of the civil judicial system. This egregious conduct warrants sanctions. Okay, then they get into the facts section. Again, this is Desiree. Desiree's words, not mine. Number 1, plan and create a false narrative using fabricated evidence. The lawsuit and corresponding false narrative arose after DeMore's family discovered that Javon was, quote, physically, emotionally, sexually, and financially abusing DeMore. Indeed, after learning the extent of the domestic abuse suffered by DeMore at the hands of Javon, her entire family attempted to protect her by reporting Javon's conduct to the police. The family reported that on January 16th, 2022, Javon had, quote, viciously punched Miss Hadley in the head, grabbed and shoved her. And on September 11th, the next year, Javon terrorized DeMore, threatened her, and physically assaulted her at the family home. Now, just to pause right here, DeMore and Javon both have said this is absolutely not true. It's not true. This never happened. I don't know what the deal is with that. But Desiree is continuing to just say it happened, like as if it happened. So, we'll have to see. Javon was arrested for both incidents. However, DeMore falsely denied that the assaults occurred. So she's like, no, they didn't occur, despite evidence to the contrary. Now, what's the evidence? Girl, what's the evidence? Okay, then the next year, April 9th, 2024, while Javon was in jail for the September 11th, was it an assault? Was it not? We don't know. He and his mom planned their retaliation against Desiree during a phone call on a recorded line. They discussed that Javon, so Javon's in jail. His mom calls him. He's in jail. His mom calls him. Obviously, jail calls are recorded, so they're talking about that right now in this motion for sanctions. Javon and his mom discussed that Javon's criminal defense attorney and DeMore's civil attorney were working together. And Javon's mom said, quote, so yeah, Naib and DeMore's lawyer goes 20 years back and they finna work together. Mr. Hadley then responded, quote, I feel like I said, something big got to be coming, man. This lady, I got to get that payday. Okay, so this is supposedly what he said in the recorded phone call. Now, I haven't heard this recorded phone call personally, so I'm just reading the lawsuit right now, or the motion for sanctions, rather, that was filed yesterday by Desiree Perez. Quote, this apparently Javon said this, quote, payday gonna be all worth it, end quote. Later that same day, Mr. Hadley states, quote, I want the lawsuit to hit her ass. There ain't no reason why it shouldn't. It's a mission now. So, and I've been in jail. You know what I mean? That's different. Okay. So Mr. Hadley was also recorded discussing the scheme to leverage the, okay, so let me stop right there first. I want to address this right here, right? First, this box right here, this what's highlighted right here, this is the jail call. Now, he was supposedly arrested for an assault which occurred on September 11th, 2023, but he says and maintains that assault did not occur. DeMore maintains the assault did not occur. And to my knowledge, all of the charges were dismissed. He didn't even face trial, I don't believe. So this right here, while Mr. Hadley was in jail he's in jail, he's talking to his mom, and I don't see what's so wrong about this. Because their story, Javon's story, Javon's perspective, and he maintains, is that he was erroneously and falsely imprisoned not once but twice because of lies and the misuse of the legal system. So in a sort of ironic and maybe sinister way, both sides of this dispute are now blaming each other for similar actions, which is misuse and abuse of the legal process, of the legal system, of the justice system. So, but me personally, I don't see what's wrong with that. If I'm sitting in jail because somebody lied about me, I'm getting money too, if I can. I want somebody to pay money. If the police put me in jail and I'm not supposed to be in jail, I want them to pay money. That is what our legal system is for. If you're sitting in jail for something you did not do, how else do you get any kind of justice? Just letting you out. Okay, no harm, no foul. No. When you infringe upon someone's rights, you should have to pay them. That is what the civil justice system is. So I'm failing to see, and maybe Desiree is going to get into it, but the entire purpose of a lawsuit is usually to get money. Sometimes it could be for somebody trying to clear up their name, but usually that is the only remedy you can get from a lawsuit is money, or, some type of sanctions. Hold on, I need to block somebody, a bot. Oh my God, I love blocking bots. It's so fun. Destined for Greatness said, if I got falsely arrested, yeah, somebody would have to pay up. I mean, that's what, let's read it again. Maybe I'm missing something. Let's read it again. Here's the alleged, this is the sinister scheme in play right here. Quote, so yeah, my lawyer and Demarie's lawyer go back 20 years. They finna work together. And then Javon said, I feel like, oh, wait, excuse me. I said, I attributed the quote to the wrong person. Okay. So this is actually Javon's mother. She says, so yeah, your lawyer, your criminal defense lawyer and Demarie's lawyer goes back 20 years and they finna work together. That's when Javon responded, quote, I feel like I said, something big got to be coming, man. This lady, I got to get that payday. Payday going to be all worth it. Later that same date, Javon states, I want the lawsuit to hit her ass. There ain't no reason why it shouldn't. It's a mission now. So, and I've been in jail. You know what I mean? That's different. Yeah, it's one thing to falsely accuse somebody. It's a whole nother thing now they in jail and they can't go where they want to go, do what they want to do, and it's a false accusation. Now, am I saying that Desiree made false accusations? No, because I don't know what's true and what's false and what's gone on between these parties and what hasn't. I don't know. I don't know. All I can tell you is patterns I have seen in the past, and I can maybe say my opinion. But Demore seemed very adamant that these allegations that she was abused by Javon are false. She's been adamant about that. Take with that information what you will. I'm going to personally keep an open mind until I see all the evidence, but I'll leave it at that. Okay. So then she moves on from the scandalous jail call, which was apparently so bad or whatever. And she moves on and says, that he also recorded discussing the scheme. Oh, excuse me. They still are on the jail call, but now instead of just talking about, I got to get this lady, I got to sue her. He was also recorded discussing the scheme to leverage the press and social media campaign against Desiree for a civil settlement. On April 14th, 2024, in a jail call with his mother, Javon states, quote, you mess around, you might read about if somebody don't want to. You mess around, you might read about it if somebody don't want to settle. You might read about it if somebody don't want to settle. Go ahead and settle quick, man, before bleep go public. Because they do their research. There's Twitter and all that. They do their research. Now, I do want to know, who is they? Is he talking about the Barbs? Who is they? They do their research. There's Twitter and all that. The next day, still in jail, Javon told his mom, I'm going to tap them. I want her to get justice, but I want to hit it where it hurt. I want them pockets. This all sounds completely reasonable. So if you take everything that Javon and Demore have said as if it is true, which I don't know if it is, but if you take everything they're saying as if it is true, then these are reasonable statements. It's not violent. He's saying, if anything, this is the legal route to go. It would be really bad if he was saying, I want their throat. I want their head on a plate. I want them shot up outside the, Wawa parking lot or something. It would be really different if he said something like that. But what did he say that was so bad? That is his legal right and a legal remedy. I want them pockets. Probably something that, I don't know, Jay-Z might have said in his life. He's talking about y'all. TT Marie said that he's talking about y'all. That would be a threat. I want them pockets. What? So I want to hit them where it hurts. And what if he didn't say I want them pockets? What if it was just, I want her to get justice, but I want to hit it where it hurts. Quote, that might be kind of ominous, but he clarified, where does it hurt? Cha-ching, in the pockets. Now, I don't like frivolous lawsuits. I don't like it. If somebody's sitting there scheming to lie about somebody, like has been done to me, of course I don't like that. So of course, if Javon is just making shit up, of course that would be out of line and illegal. But I don't see from these quotes how this is some type of scheme. I don't see it. Maybe I'm missing it, but I just don't see how this indicates a scheme. He's just saying, I was put in jail unlawfully, not rightfully. unlawfully detained, unlawfully imprisoned, and I want to sue somebody over it. And I want to get money for it because I have suffered. I don't see how that's a scheme. I want people online to talk about it. I don't see how that's a scheme. I personally don't, but maybe they'll get to it. Maybe they'll get to it. Oh, Kellner said, yeah, it is a threat because like we're a threat that we will do the research. So y'all will do the research. That's crazy. Personally, I'm not a threat, but maybe they're talking about the internet. I'm not a threatening person. I can't be out here saying I'm a threat to nothing because guess what? They're going to sue me and be like, she threatened to kill somebody. I mean, they will lie about anything, y'all. That's why I have to be very careful about what I specifically say. So like words like threat and stuff, like I have to be careful about it. But yeah, I'm sure when Desiree or whoever powers that be, this is just my opinion, but I'm sure that the powers that be who heard this jail call were absolutely threatened by it. But does that mean it's a threat? I don't know. I'm sure they don't want social media talking about it or whatever, but I mean, it's a public case. These are public figures and it's been made public. It's a highly public case. Shout out to Tina Bailey, member for 1 month. This, okay. He goes on, I want to hit it where it hurt. I want them pockets. Oh my God. I'm gonna lawsuit days and we probably gonna be on TV and all of that. Then later on the jail call, his mom says, maybe you want to make me famous. Go ahead. Javon responds, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Okay. I don't know. Like I would need more context on this call. So far inconclusive that a scheme is existing. I'm going to say it doesn't look like one is existing. I need more evidence or proof. Sound like a guy talking to his mom, trying to make her feel better. Like, it's all right. I'm going to get money. I'm going to hit him where it hurts in the pockets. Could be that. Could be, he really lawfully, legally plans to pursue all lawful courses of action, including suing the shit out of them, which he did apparently do, or his wife did. Okay, next paragraph. DeMaury was also complicit in the plan to use the false narrative to file a lawsuit and launch a social media campaign against her mother and to try her case in the court of public opinion. On June 23rd, 2025, after defendants had filed for a gag order, but hadn't been granted yet. In an interview with a social media personality, and I don't know if this is me or not, because they do like block out the names. But y'all, look, listen, I didn't say nothing. I told y'all I was not there. I do not know what happened. And just for the record, when my interview came out, it was a very, very short amount of time before that gag order was, I need to look at the days. I want to say it was like the next day, but I shouldn't say that because what is time? It's a blur. So I don't want to say it might've been a week. I really don't know, but it was like a short, I feel like it was shorter than a week amount. And because we're doing feelings now, amount of time after the DeMaury interview. And then the gag order was granted. So just so we're clear, there's a gag order on this case. There's no way for me to get Desiree's point of view on this at this point. She's not allowed to talk about it. I cannot email Rock Nation. Nobody is allowed to comment on this case. So if Desiree really wanted to, and there wasn't a gag order, she could come on here and tell her side of the story too. Okay, so all that being said, there is a gag order. Nobody is allowed to do interviews. When I did the interview with DeMaury, there was no gag order in place, to my knowledge. Like the gag order got put into place after my interview published and was aired. And then interestingly, that interview got copyright struck by the so-called 40/40 Club and had a strike on my channel. And the video for about 2 weeks was down and off and I had a strike and my channel has been affected by it for sure. And I appealed that strike and I won because it was, I don't know, because they were supposed to file some type of lawsuit and they didn't. But I appealed the strike and won. But that interview came out. Let me actually tell y'all. It was like the end of June 20 something, just so we know, because they're about to get into like the YouTube interviews they're mad about and stuff. June 19th. Okay, so y'all see this? Hold on. Just so the record is clear. Just so the record's clear. Mine came out June 19th, and I recorded it before that. It premiered June 19th, but it was recorded even before that. Okay. So just so y'all are aware, just so y'all know. So I'm just getting my document back up here that Desiree filed yesterday. Okay. Miss Hadley was also complicit. So not only Javon in the jail calls, and again, to me, it's a little inconclusive. It doesn't really seem like there's like a scheme has been established yet, but maybe we'll get there. We're only on page 4. But then she's like, but Demore, she was also complicit in this plan to use the false narrative to file a lawsuit and launch a social media campaign against her mom and try her case in the court of public opinion. On June 23rd, 2025, after defendants had filed for a gag order in an interview with a social media personality, Miss Hadley said the following regarding Miss Perez. So Demore said the following about Desiree. She said, quote, and when you're dealing, this is Demore saying this, when you're dealing with narcissistic people who tend to care about their image, well, what better way to strike a nerve and tell them this, and you need to stop, than going out, speaking out, and going to the media and letting them know, hey, I'm tired. It's been over 2 years of you punching me, harassing me, scaring me. I'm pretty sure the public will support us. So Desiree's filing goes on and says, Demore also stated, quote, for a while, I was like, did I make the right decision suing my own mother? Oh my God, is the world going to think I'm like this horrible person? And the world actually responded exactly how my attorney said, by uplifting me, supporting me, and understanding me. This is from Exhibit F, a YouTube interview. Combined, this evidence establishes that the Hadley team formulated a plan to use a media and social media campaign to pressure Ms. Perez and other defendants to settle before the lawsuit and while Mr. Hadley's second criminal case was pending. Okay, so Demore has addressed this. She has addressed this. I think this was on the interview I did with her. She said she did not want to sue her mom. She tried not to. She tried to settle this. She might have said this on Tasha K too. She said, I tried to take care of this, figure this out outside of court. I didn't want this to go to court. I didn't want this to go to court. I didn't want to sue my mom. But every time I turn around, my husband's getting arrested. I'm paraphrasing here of what I remember. It was a Tasha K interview. I do think she did tell me this too, also, Reese, maybe in 2 different ways. She said it, but maybe the terminology, the phrasing I'm thinking of is the Tasha K one. But she said, every time I turn around, my husband's getting arrested. We're getting chased down at the petting zoo with our nephews. They're doing this stuff in front of them. They're lying. They're sending men to follow me around. They have, device they had. And this is what Demore said. I don't know because I was not there, but she does provide what appear to be evidence and receipts, but it'll get all sorted out at trial. These are just the public allegations on an issue of public concern. But it looks like they're trying to make something into a scheme here. And this issue does keep coming up over and over. It comes up a lot of the time with Tyrone Blackburn. It comes up a lot of the time with Tony Busby, where these lawyers try to settle cases before it goes to court. And then the powerful people accuse, like, for example, Tony Busby sued Jay-Z, right, for with that Jane Doe thing. Now that has been dropped, voluntarily withdrawn, but there was this Jane Doe that sued Jay-Z, and it was Tony Busby that was representing. And Jay-Z then sued back and said it was extortion and all this stuff because he tried to extract a settlement out of Jay-Z before it went to trial. So it's a similar thing now that that Desiree, the CEO of Roc Nation, is saying, is that it was extortion. They were threatening. We're going to go do a social media scheme and plan if you don't settle this lawsuit with us. Again, why is this being presented in a motion for sanctions instead of like a lawsuit? That's what I want to know. Spiro does this settlement stuff too. Mbambo said. Interesting. In his opinion. IMO means in my opinion. Okay. Combine this evidence establishes that the Hadley team formulated a plan. Okay, what evidence? A plan what? I don't, but the thing is, I think that's allowed. I think you're allowed to say, I'm going to sue you if you don't stop harassing me. Can we come up with a settlement agreement so we don't have to sue each other in court? I don't think that's against the law. I think that's fine, but I don't know. I'm not the police or whatever. So girl, I don't know. This evidence establishes the Hadley team formulated a plan to use social media and to use a media and social media campaign to pressure Desiree and other defendants to settle before the lawsuit. And while Javon's second criminal case was still pending, notably, the first reported instance of domestic violence occurred January 2022 when Javon viciously punched Miss Hadley in the head. This incident was captured by the home's security video function, and which case was no actioned because of expiration on the statute of limitations. Now, again, y'all, this video, so-called video, DeMaury alleges is a fake. It's AI. It's a deep fake. The second reported incident of domestic violence occurred September 11th, the next year, 2023, when Javon assaulted and battered DeMaury, which incident was audio recorded by the home security system's audio recording function. Okay, so then there was a listening device somewhere, right? Because remember the beginning of this, she was like, there was no listening device, it was a toy. I was like, okay, but wait, okay, maybe it wasn't in the room, but do you see how it sort of starts to get like, oh, maybe there was a listening device somewhere? You see what I mean? That case was also dropped after DeMaury told prosecutors that she had not been assaulted. She denied that she had been assaulted. And look here, Desiree has no problem calling DeMaury a liar, but they have a huge problem when somebody else calls Megan Thee Stallion a liar. Oh, too soon? Let me stop. Y'all, can we do a side note real quick? I have not been able to stop thinking about the side of shrimp plate from the Megan Thee Stallion diss track. I'm a whole steak and you are a shrimp plate. I haven't been able to stop. I have not been able to stop thinking about the shrimp plate. I think about it every day. It's too much. It is too much. Okay. DeMaury's false statements to the, what would this be? The state's attorney are clearly contradicted by numerous audio recordings, text messages, a video recording, witnesses, and even DeMaury's own notes and recordings on her phone. Now, all of these things that clearly contradicted by audio recordings, text messages, video recording, witnesses, and the notes, all of these things are up at issue. Why? Audio recordings. Was there a listening device installed in her bedroom? Yes or no? If yes, who put it in there? These are questions. Text messages. And we'll combine text messages with DeMaury's notes and recordings on her phone. because the phone, she claims, was cloned by someone at Rock Nation. Video recording, she claims, is AI. Witnesses, she claimed, hadn't even talked to her in a year or something, in months or something. I go to my interview I did with her and go watch her own interviews, and you can get the actual what she said. I'm doing this off memory. I might be wrong. This is a live stream. I'm just reading a document. But my point of saying this sentence here or this analysis at this point, is to say that maybe there is some contradictory evidence in a form of audio recordings, text messages, video recordings, witnesses, and even Miss Hadley's own notes and recordings on her phone. However, all of this stuff, again, is going to have to be sorted out by experts. We need metadata experts on both sides. We need to see what they're able to pull up. We need to hear them explain who took a picture, what is AI, ran it through the software, ran it through the analysis. You know what I mean? Oh my God, y'all. Please, we're definitely doing shrimp plate at Fixin's. For sure. I can't. It's the shrimp. She got me. She did. She got me. She got me good with the shrimp plate. It was too much. I think I'm going to have to put a shrimp plate line in one of my future songs. I'm just going to have to. It was too funny. The surf and turf of it all. I just can't. Okay. Anyway, back to this case. Moreover, the assistant U.S. attorney, Sopina. Oh my God, girl. What an interesting name to have. Your name sounds like subpoena and you work as a lawyer. Oh my gosh. I wonder if there's ever been any snafus with the spelling or anything. Okay. The assistant U.S. attorney Sopena, one of the prosecutors assigned to the case, acknowledged to an attorney that DeMore was, quote, deep in the cycle of violence and she wasn't ready to break the cycle. In fact, the lies that protected Javon from his criminal prosecution were then used as the underpinning of this very lawsuit and concurrent social media campaign. For example, the complaints filed by the Hadleys in this case are largely rely on false allegations that Desiree illegally placed a listening and recording device in the Hadleys' bedroom, which has been proven to be a lie. Okay, whoa, hold on. It's a proven lie? A proven lie that there was no listening and recording device in the Hadleys' bedroom? Interesting. Exhibit G. The state's attorney's closing memo states that in a hearing that occurred last year, April 2024, under oath, DeMore stated the following about the September 11, 2023 incident. So she's in the middle of an interview. DeMore's doing an interview and she says this quote, so Olga Zayas, I think that's her step grandma, walks into the room. She tells us that my mother had some type of camera without our knowledge inside of the room, and that she was made aware that we were arguing and that I possibly was beaten up. I clarified, no, I haven't gotten hit and nobody got beaten up. Desiree says, though, so that was DeMore. DeMore told that to an investigator. She's like, my step grandma walks into the room. She tells us that my mom had some type of camera without our knowledge inside of the room. And the grandma was made aware that Javon and DeMore were arguing and that DeMore was possibly beaten up. DeMore said, I clarified, no, I didn't get hit and nobody got beaten up. But Desiree says to the contrary. The audio recording captured by the home security system's device outside the bedroom proves that Ms. Zayas, a plaintiff in the case against Javon, never said anything about a camera. So maybe Olga Zayas is not the grandma. I don't know who Olga Zayas is. Is she one? I don't know who that is. Sorry. But there was a recording device outside the bedroom. So she's like, it's actually so confusing. And I do wonder if they do it on purpose, because it's just so much details to keep up with that you really have to understand nuance and not get trapped in any of the ambiguity. And The complaint, okay. So there's a bunch of lies. One lie that Desiree says is a lie. One of the lies is that Desiree put a listening and recording device in the Hadley's bedroom. This is not true. DeMore did an interview with a detective or something last year. She said nobody was beaten up. Somebody walked at her, Olga, whoever Olga is, I don't know who that is, walks into the room and says, hey, like, there's some type of camera or something in here. But then Desiree's like, that's not true because I listened to the audio recording. It's like, okay, so there's an audio recorder outside of the bedroom and it allows you to hear inside the bedroom. But you see what I mean? Like, okay, like let's take a step back. Because I think a lot of people think everyone just operates on good faith. And most people in these law filings just aren't. So, or I should say a lot. I shouldn't say most. I don't know if it's most. But Desiree Perez is trying to get sanctions, right? Let's back up. What are we doing here? Desiree is trying to get sanctions against Javon, DeMore, and their lawyer. Why? Bunch of lies. Social media campaign, vexatious litigation, and suing based on something that DeMore and Javon know is false and all this stuff, right? So as Desiree's doing her filing, she goes down the list and she starts to put little, grievances that she has. One of the grievances she has is all these lies. And Desiree's like, they're just lying. They're just lying all the time. One of the big lies that's underlined this case or whatever has to do with one of the big lies underlying this case has to do with this secret recording, this listening device. This is a proven lie. There was never a listening device in her bedroom. But in the same paragraph, Desiree describes being able to listen to an audio recording of a conversation that happened inside this house. Now, there's a lot of room for interpretation between those two things. Place the listening device is a false and salacious lie. But okay, but like you can still hear what she's saying inside her bedroom. So there was a listening device that could access inside her bedroom. Somehow, even if it wasn't inside her bedroom, somehow you heard what she was talking about to Olga. Listening device. Yeah. Instead, Miss Zayas's fear and her screams for Javon to stop hurting DeMore is palpable. And I think DeMore said this is a fake audio recording. I don't know if it's fake. I never even heard it. On April 22nd, 2024, Mr. Hadley, that's Javon, criminal defense attorney, conveyed more falsehoods in a letter to the state's attorney's office stating, we have uncovered a solar-powered tracking device. Okay, so this is Javon's lawyer emailed the state's attorney saying, we have uncovered a solar-powered tracking device in Javon's briefcase. Further stated that, quote, the mother tracks the daughter with items that belong to the daughter. Oh my God. The state's attorney's memo stated September 15, 2024, cited a different fabricated version of a supposed tracker. It falsely states the victim found a tracker in her luggage. Okay, so DeMore could have found a tracker in her luggage. How would Desiree know if that was false or not? She could say it's false whether or not she put it in there, but like, how would Desiree know what was in her daughter's suitcase? Does your mama know everything in every one of your suitcases? If you said, oh my God, police, come to my house, I found a tracking device in my suitcase, your mom be like, that's false. Like, that's what, she's losing any good faith credibility. Big Homie said, no, she actually listened and watched them in their bedroom. Okay, then the second thing, repeatedly court filings, paying them all that money, can't even write a sentence. Repeatedly court filings based on a false narrative, including salacious and tabloid-esque allegations, ad hominem attacks, and events that occurred 3 decades earlier. This just in, everybody, breaking news. If something happened 30 years ago, you can't talk about it no more. Shut up. Shh. Just kidding. As planned, the Hadley team sent a demand letter to Desiree Perez and sought to extract a settlement before filing a lawsuit. Whoo, I bet you they wish they would have settled. On February 18th, 2025, the Hadleys, through their attorney, who was then representing both abuser, Mr. Hadley, and abused Miss Hadley, so she just calling people abuser out here, stated that a settlement of $7 to $10 million would be ideal, as they assumed Desiree had money. Would want to avoid any bad publicity for herself and Roc Nation. Shortly thereafter, it was revealed that their lawyer, the Hadleys' lawyer, had contacted a media outlet before the lawsuit to advise them that a lawsuit involving Desiree and Roc Nation was imminent. Evidently, Desiree says, Mr. Napoleon was already on a mission to find media outlets that would spread the Hadley team's false narrative and later serve as the basis for aggressive social media attacks against Miss Perez. On April 8th, 2025, Desiree's lawyer responded to the demand letter in writing addressing the lies and defamatory allegations and providing a warning under Rule 11 that any complaint would be frivolous. Well, just because she said it would be frivolous, it must be, huh? Imagine if that's how the world worked. Anytime somebody thinks that they are the target of a frivolous lawsuit, the attorney is sanctioned. Even if the lawsuit isn't frivolous, right? But just because Desiree said it was. Undeterred, their lawyer filed the lawsuit. These lawsuits are, quote, riddled with innuendo and baseless supposition, legally untenable causes of action, misleading allegations, and outright false assertions. In addition to the frivolous claims, the Hadley team leveled a character assassination against Desiree, so detached from substantive allegations, both in time and in kind, that it could not be viewed as anything other than an effort to vilify Miss Perez and shame and harass her in the public eye. Specifically, the pleadings detail in chapter and verse Desiree's public criminal history from over 27 years ago, and for crimes which have been the subject of a presidential pardon from Donald John Trump. I made a video about that on my other channel. Did you know the CEO of Roc Nation was pardoned for her crimes, and she was pardoned by Donald Trump? I made a video about that on my other channel. Anyway, tellingly, Desiree says, different variations of these defamatory and personal attacks are repeated in nearly every post pleading filing. This serves no legitimate purpose for litigation. Blatant examples include Desiree claims she's not a mob boss, but she's the closest thing to it. Quote, unfortunately, Desiree learned how to set people up when she was a confidential informant for the government. And that was at ECF numbers 141, 152. A more comprehensive list of these repeated lies and personal attacks are included as Exhibit 1, quote, personal attacks used to create a false narrative in court filings. Girl, they got a whole spreadsheet back there. Like they don't have a trial to prepare for. Their only function, Your Honor, is to fuel a parallel media narrative that the Hadley team desperately needs to distract from the weakness of their claims and leverage a settlement. And then she goes on. DeMore also falsely claimed that racism is behind Desiree's motivation for seeking to separate the Hadleys. And this is a lie. Okay, everybody. So just so everybody's clear and aware, just so everybody is clear and aware. Desiree Perez is saying she's not a racist. Okay, she's been accused of being racist. She's not a racist. That's a lie. She said her sole motivation at all times has been to rescue her daughter from a situation in which she was being beaten, coerced, and abused by Javon Hadley. There are recordings of at least 2 instances of Javon physically assaulting DeMore. The Hadley team is fully aware of what these recordings depict. It is disingenuous but crucial to their false narrative to pretend that this evidence does not exist or claim without support that the evidence was doctored and simply ignore the domestic abuse that led to the actions taken by Miss Perez and Miss Hadley's extended family. So here's the thing. I'm not in any way sympathetic to that. I'm sorry, I'm not. Now, am I sympathetic to abuse victims? Absolutely, of course. Absolutely, of course. Do I believe abuse victims should be given opportunities to get out of abusive situations? Absolutely, of course. Do I know that victims of abuse, especially physical abuse or any type of abuse, really, oftentimes are not ready to do what needs to be done to get away? Yes, all these things. But this Florida Baker Act bullshit is not supposed to be because a grown woman won't leave her husband and the mom of the grown woman wants her to. All right. That's supposed to be for addiction. And I don't even like that. I don't think that should be a law. I think if you're breaking the law, a crime, you should go to jail. If you're having a mental crisis, maybe they should be able to hold you like for a day, like overnight. But like, that is it. I don't like these Baker Act, Marchman Act, Florida Baker 5150. I don't like it. I don't like it. I know there's a very small percent of where it's used and it's helpful, but for the most part, it's very traumatizing. It's very traumatic. They just drug you. And now you have a record for having been psychiatrically incarcerated, which leads you to be called crazy for the rest of your life. And it's traumatic to be in one of those places for the most part. Okay. So put on top of that, the fact that DeMore says that she was held against her will for 14 days. So is it the case now that Desiree, I'm just reading this document, but is it the case now that she's trying to say that what led to her doing whatever she did to have her daughter locked up in a mental health facility for, was it 2 weeks? That's how you end up in a conservatorship too. Yep. It's because of this. Because look, listen, if you call the cops, I've done it before myself. I saw something extremely alarming on body camera footage and I reported it. But at some point, you can't lie and say somebody got a drug addiction to get them locked up because they're getting beat by their husband. That's just not how the law works. And I'm not even saying I'm not sympathetic to that if it's true. Let's say there is a mom. I mean, some of y'all in my chat have adult children. If your daughter is being harmed by their husband or their boyfriend, of course you're going to want to do something. And maybe you call the cops. Maybe you do what's within your lawful ability to do. But at some point, you got to trust you raised your kid right. And they're going to get out of the situation when they can. If the cops are continuously coming and she just keeps continuing, I mean, y'all saw that R. Kelly documentary. The mama did. She could go as far as she could go. But when that daughter didn't want to come with her, she just couldn't make her come. So whenever she came back next time, I think she did get the daughter on the second one or whatever. But like, I mean, there's really like fundamental, I mean, like just because somebody is your family member does not give you the right to take away their freedoms. People have the right to stay with their abusive husband, even though we don't want them to do it. Even though we don't want them to. So I'm not saying what Desiree is even saying is true. Okay. I'm saying even if what Desiree is saying is true, it looks like she's admitting to misusing the Florida Baker Act for a domestic incident It looks like it to me. I mean, that's what it looks like she's admitting to me. Let me read it again, and you tell me if that's what it looks like to you. DeMore falsely claims that racism is behind Desiree's motivation for seeking to separate the Hadleys. And this was one of my questions too. I'm like, why she won't just leave you alone? She's like, and DeMore is like, because she's racist. She don't like black people. She uses the N-word. Desiree said that's a lie. It's a lie. She said her sole motivation at all times has been to rescue DeMore from a situation in which she was being beaten, coerced, and abused, not drugged, right? That's what the Baker Act is supposed to be for, right? Or the Marchman. Marchman is for drugged. There are recordings of at least 2 instances of Javon physically assaulting DeMore. The Hadley team is fully aware of what these recordings depict. It is disingenuous, but crucial to their false narrative, to pretend that this evidence does not exist, or to claim without support that the evidence was somehow doctored, and simply ignore that the domestic abuse, and to simply ignore the domestic abuse, right? Look, this is where she says it. Simply ignore the domestic abuse that led to the actions taken by Desiree. So the domestic abuse led to Desiree's actions. That's what it is. The domestic abuse, not drug use. And so I don't know, is that an admission of misusing the Baker Act? I don't know. Is the Baker Act supposed to be for domestic abuse? I don't think so. If so, I have some things to report. Moreover, the false claim that Desiree was trying to separate the Hadleys because Desiree is a racist was never made to the all of this stuff is stuff that you would put in a lawsuit. I don't know why they're putting this in a motion for sanctions. This false narrative was concocted solely for this civil litigation and for social media attacks. Most troubling and sanctionable is that even after initial pleadings and a Rule 11 motion for sanctions were filed, the Hadley team has continued to file documents with so many false allegations and baseless conclusions that they cannot all be addressed in this filing. Below are just 5 examples of false statements and fabrications made in post-pleading filings for which the lawyer and DeMore had or have received information that these allegations were false, but refused to correct or omit them from their filings. A more comprehensive list is below. So one of the things she's mad at is that Desiree is mad at is that it was alleged that she put a listening device in DeMore's bedroom. Lie number 2, quote, after DeMore filed suit, Desiree attempted to weaponize public opinion on social media and to discredit her own daughter by using fake social media accounts. For instance, Instagram user created a page with the name Tell the Truth Blackbird. Tell the Truth Blackbird has 12 posts, no followers, and every single post except one is devoted to slandering DeMore and Javon. This account was created and operated by Heather Wilson. So they're just putting a few of the things that, Desiree's putting stuff like, she's like, this is a lie and they know it. This is a lie and they know it. An investigator named James Hunt flew to Arkansas and asked Miss Wilson to sign an affidavit affirming she had not been hired or requested by any person or company to publish any of the information she posted about DeMore. Ms. Wilson refused to sign the affidavit. Lie number 4, quote, a blogger named Survivor1 posted several negative and derogatory videos and statements about DeMore and Javon, including the video that Desiree tacitly claims she did not send. Survivor1 posted that Desiree sent the video to her from a burner account. And I'll just say this, okay? When dealing with Rock Nation, Quinn Emanuel, that goes all the way into the Elon Musk and Mr. Beast progeny, by the way. When dealing with Alex Spiro, Jay-Z, Desiree Perez, I would personally, for my own self, and I'm just talking about my own self, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Going to be very, 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 very careful with any anonymous tips I get. I personally would be will be very, very careful with any releasing any information. I mean, I got some excellent advice from one by the name of Liz Crokin years ago. And she said, one of the things I'll tell you when you're doing this kind of work, you're usually not going to get in a lot of trouble. Or, then nobody's going to come after you, whether it be the powers that be or the, whoever. If you kind of stick to saying stuff that like other people have already uncovered, where you start to run into problems and where people find themselves with no longer having a life anymore is whenever you release exclusive or classified stuff just onto the unsuspecting public. You could actually piss somebody off with that. I don't know if it's true or not. Okay. I have just made it a point to just implement that in my work, because people do contact me from time to time, not a lot, but they'll contact me like, oh, I want to tell my story exclusive on your channel, or, they'll send me a piece of information that I'm not exactly sure how they have, or, I keep telling you all this example. If somebody sent me a link or somebody sent me, photographs, still shots from what I believe was deep fake chronography, if you know what I mean, of one of my ops. And yes, it very much so did look exactly like her. Even if it was real, I never would share that. For many reasons. But the Milagro case has to do, there's a little bit of the deep fake. It was like, it looked like that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Why? I mean, could it be? I'm just asking questions. Could it be that it's actually very difficult for a famous person or a politician, a public figure, to win a defamation case? And so they needed that little something extra. They needed that little, she shared obscene material. She shared revenge cron. She shared, a video of somebody. That could it be that if, because I mean, if you look at the deposition questions in the Milagro, I know that we're talking about the Desiree case, but this is like, I think in the same universe. When you look at the questions the guy is asking, and of course, these are the best lawyers in the world. I mean, they're really good. So he's like, so what is it? Miss Cooper, do you think, I'm paraphrasing. We'll read that, deposition later, or either tomorrow or later or whatever. But what is, the lawyer, Megan Thee Stallion's lawyer is like, what is it, Miss Cooper? Is it because she's famous, because she's a celebrity, she deserves to have the humiliation of her stuff shared like that? So celebrities should be, you should be allowed to share revenge cron about a celebrity. And it's like, no, obviously you shouldn't. Remember they had that whole test run with the, what was her name? Taylor Swift? The AI cron of Taylor Swift, and there was a big scandal. And then they had to make it to where the AI couldn't make that or whatever. You couldn't make famous people, whatever. So I think there is a burgeoning, this is just a schizophrenic delusion, y'all. Okay. Like, don't take this as a fact. This is my opinion. But I think there's like a burgeoning like sector of the powerful who are now trying to use cyber crimes, cyber corn, AI corn, stuff like this to try and sue people for basically what amounts to defamation as a loophole. Nancy Mace, the shill of the freaking whole entire century, who was behind that free act, or I shouldn't even say behind, because that bitch didn't even know what the fuck it said. But that idiot who went and got her little Vistaprint Free Britney shirt before her stupid press conference with the lobbyist group. Yeah, her, that idiot. She's been spearheading this like anti-revenge porn law, which is great, by the way. No one should be sharing revenge porn. And for sure, nobody should be making fake AI porn of an actual person who exists, and certainly not sharing it. But like, don't you see how we all have that knee jerk of a reaction? That's different. That's different than the reaction we have to somebody said, Meg Thee Stallion is ugly. Somebody said she looks like a man. Somebody said, something that would be more along the lines of like defamation. This other thing is new. This cyber harassment, cyber stalking, internet crimes. And I think they were trying to use me as a test subject. I think they thought they were going to be able to absolutely annihilate me in court. I think they thought they were going to be able to scare me. But as it turns out, I didn't do anything defamatory. So they lost. And now they're appealing it. But then when I was really reading through Milagro's deposition yesterday, the day before, it took me a few days to get through it. I started to realize that I think there might be like lobbyist groups or something behind some of this funding, because for a long time, you've been able to really talk about politicians and you've been able to really talk about famous people where, I mean, they might try to sue you, but it just gets dismissed. I mean, there's anti-SLAPP laws, but none of that was sharing AI porn. None of that was sharing deep fake porn. And so for me, what I genuinely believe, and I don't know. I don't know for sure. I think they made fake AI porn of this girl who I was in an argument, who's now suing me. I think someone did. Do I think she did? No, that is not what I am saying. I think someone did. Who? I don't know. Do I think she knew about it? Not necessarily. But I think someone did, made this fake AI porn of this girl to send to me so that I would share it, or talk about it, or send people to it, or like it and say, go to my likes. I think that's why it was made. Now, when I first looked at it, it kind of looked like it might really be her. It looked just like her. But it was like all these other videos on this person's channel that didn't really look like her. It was just this one random video that looked just like her. And the rest kind of looked like sort of similar to her. And it's like, no. Even if it was real, I wouldn't share it. But the way they made it look like Milagro was out here sharing that video. But when I read her deposition, she said she never shared the video. She liked a link with a headline on it that if you keep clicking the link and you go to another thing, you go to a website, it'll eventually take you to the video. But the way they wrote that lawsuit, it was like, oh, she was trying to share the deep fake porn. And actually she wasn't. She was in a fight with Cardi B. She was beefing with Cardi freaking B. Meg Thee Stallion was the last thing on her mind, but it was time to get the setup going. Probably she thought, it's like all these people coming on Station Head, coming on Discord. I don't have a Discord. Why? Because of look at Milagro. Anything that happens in these Discords, you get blamed for. Is that her fault? Absolutely not. It's not fair. Creators and content creators and people should be allowed to have a little community where they can go talk to their people. I can't have a Discord because they tried to set me up with one of them too. I didn't even have one, right? Because usually what they'll do is they'll infiltrate. Usually they will infiltrate your existing Discord and they will cause discord. So infiltrate the Discord and put a link to some cron, to some prawn. Infiltrate the Discord and start a group chat with a bunch of underage, kids and saying nasty stuff. They will infiltrate. But if you don't have a Discord, somebody will start one for you and they'll pretend to be your fan. That Surprise Army. Somebody started a Discord called That Surprise Army. Ask me if I ever went into That Surprise Army. No, I did not. No, I did not. Did I ever interact with anything in there? No, I did not. In fact, and indeed, I kind of had a little bit of a reaction to the word army. Because I'm like, this feels like a setup. Lo and behold, shit they posted in That Surprise Army gets used against me in court. Did I make that Discord? No. Did I ever interact in that Discord? No. But what if I had? You see where I'm going with this? And so when I see a Milagro, when I see a Demore, and I have said this before, I do start out with a little bit of a bias. What is the bias? The bias is that I know people can lie. I know people can lie. They can lie in court. The more money they have, the more lies they'll just keep saying in court. I also know that they can put together a pretty freaking sophisticated group of people to make it look like it's all kind of people, but really it's just one group. They make it look organic. At this point, everything's a bot. If I can't see your face, and you on videos, you a bot. Sorry. And it's fine. Some bots are cute or whatever. But yeah, And I do believe this is, since we're talking about it, if anybody's keeping track, I do believe a lot of it has to do with preying on folks who have struggled with or are currently struggling with homelessness and addiction. It's almost like I wouldn't be surprised to find out that they're trolling through like the AA meetings, sober houses, outpatient clinics, saying, oh, we have a job for you as a social media influencer. We'll set you up with a computer with a mic. All you have to do is go live. We're going to give you some topics to talk about. I'm fully into that camp. Because it's just one thing that I find to be in common with a lot of this type of like shilling like type of accounts is that there is a commonality of a background and a past with struggling with addiction. And that is not to judge. And I'm also aware that every single person has somebody in their life struggling with addiction. Is very common, but I just want to put a pin in that point in case it becomes important at some day. You know what I mean? Anyway, so back to this filing. Desiree put fake images of DeMauray's injuries. Okay, so she's saying that she did not do nothing AI generated. Desiree saying that. Okay, line number 1. Desiree illegally placed a, quote, listening device in DeMauray's bedroom. The verified complaint alleged that Desiree illegally placed a listening device in DeMauray's bedroom, which is false. Okay, so Desiree is saying it is false. She did not place a listening device in DeMauray's bedroom. An expert's declaration and photos of identified components confirmed that the item identified by Miss Hadley and her counsel as a listening device was actually a capacitator and a miniature solar panel from a dancing flower toy available from Amazon for $6.99. As confirmed in the sworn declaration of technical expert Eric Whedon, the object depicted in paragraph 65 did not contain any components of a listening device. There was no voice cone, no speaker, no microphone, no voice coil of any variety, no other component of a functional listening device whatsoever. The Hadley team was on notice of these revelations, and rather than acknowledging their error and stop propagating the false and defamatory allegation, the Hadleys chose to double down on the false claim. The First Amendment complaint filed June 2025 again alleged that Desiree planted a listening device in DeMauray's bedroom, and now alleged that DeMauray only learned of an alleged recording device in her bedroom through the closeout memo of the state's attorney's office on September 15th last year. Critically, the state's attorney's memo did not specify that any listening device was found in a bedroom, nor mention a photograph of one. It referenced only a camera located outside of the bedroom. It is undisputed there was a security camera outside of her bedroom. This was known to the Hadleys at the time. Importantly, DeMauray moved out of the family home in September 2023, the place where she claims to have discovered the alleged listening device. So if she first became aware of it in September 2024, as stated, she could not have personally discovered it after having moved out a year earlier. In sum, sanctions are warranted because, shockingly, Mr. Napoleon has continued to assert the false and disproven allegation that Desiree, quote, placed a listening device in DeMauray's bedroom. Lie number 2. Desiree hired a digital marketing consultant to spread falsehoods about her daughter on the internet. Okay, wait. I think maybe Desiree is just filing this for social media, actually. I think she wants to address these points. And she wants, like, basically, I'm doing what she wants us to do right now. Thank you, the Roz Rodriguez, for the $4.99 super sticker. Appreciate that. My mom is rebuking. She rebuked Discord. She said, do not sow seeds of discord. Amen. Okay. Mr. Napoleon, that's the lawyer, and DeMauray falsely claimed that Desiree, while also attempting to loop in ROC Nation, hired a woman named Heather Wilson to create a fake Instagram account. Tell the truth, Blackbird. And they did this too, and then Heather apparently allegedly did this to spread falsehoods about DeMauray. But Miss Wilson confirmed that she was not hired by anyone to spread falsehoods. Even though this allegation has been proved false, the lawyer continues to assert the allegation. Thus, sanctions are warranted. Okay, wait. But just because someone denies doing something does not mean that it has been proven false to the extent where sanctions are denied. Everybody denies doing wrong things whenever they're getting sued. I mean, sometimes those people really did those wrong things. Sometimes they really didn't. So it's like, just because someone's saying, I didn't do that, nobody hired me to do that. Plus, it's also like horrendously ambiguous. Look, Miss Wilson confirmed, quote, she was not hired by Miss Perez, that's Desiree, or anyone to spread falsehoods. Well, they don't think it would be falsehoods, right? So were you hired by anyone to spread anything? Even that alone is ambiguous, so that's not proven. If something leaves room for it to be something else, then it isn't proven. And it certainly isn't proven to the extent that sanctions are warranted. So far, I'm just not convinced. Desiree goes on, though. Maybe she'll convince us here. Lie number 3, Mr. Hunt's alleged activities. DeMore and her lawyer moved on to fabricate purported activities of a Mr. Hunt. Indeed, Mr. Napoleon baselessly asserted in a court filing that James Hunt flew to Arkansas and asked Miss Wilson to sign an affidavit affirming that she had not been hired by or requested by any person or company to publish any information she posted about Miss Hadley. But Miss Wilson flat out refused, end quote. Desiree said this purported activity of Mr. Hunt is utter fiction. It's false. It did not happen. He did not go to Arkansas. He did not ask Miss Wilson to sign an affidavit. Finally, during Mr. Hunt's interactions with Heather Wilson, she did not, quote, flat out refuse to sign an affidavit because Mr. Hunt never requested she execute one. The lawyer, DeMore's lawyer, continuously using false allegations this false allegation warrants sanctions. Lie number 4, Desiree emailed videos about the case to someone named Survivor One. Additionally, on June 19th, 2025, DeMore and her lawyer filed a reply. So this is the same day my video premiered. Filed a reply to the motion to strike the declaration of James Hunt. And they filed a reply to the expedited motion, which instead of actually addressing any legal arguments, added yet another wholly fabricated narrative. This time purporting to have direct evidence that Desiree was behind certain negative social media posts. DeMore had put the spotlight on an individual with the X handle Survivor One, claiming, number 1, that Desiree sent Survivor One a video of DeMore being physically assaulted by Javon. Number 2, Survivor One was an employee of ROC Nation. Neither of these things are true. In fact, the video Survivor One posted of Javon assaulting DeMore is publicly available. And indeed, a link to the video is embedded in DeMore's complaint. Okay, well, this is good to see the ROC Nation team actually admitting, that if something's public already, then there's no, way to prove somebody sent it something private. Like sometimes people can just look at something public. They argue it. Thank you, Kel on Earth, for the 149 super sticker. Appreciate that. Moreover, even a cursory review of Survivor One's account reveals that Survivor One routinely posts negative content about artists that ROC Nation manages. Finally, Survivor One is not employed by ROC Nation. In sum, the Hadley team forged ahead with zero information to support these wildly false claims and no investigation to determine their veracity. Thus, sanctions are warranted. Lie number 5, images found on Miss Hadley's cell phone are AI generated or recorded by Miss Perez. Okay, so Miss Hadley, that's DeMore, and her lawyer have claimed that Desiree even put fake images in her complaint against Javon. They claim that a photo of Miss Hadley with scratches on her neck, so it's DeMore, with scratches on her neck and tears on her face in 2022 are generated by AI. They also falsely claim A video screenshot placed in the complaint against Ms. Hadley is from a recording device placed in Ms. Hadley's bedroom by Desiree. These lies are easily refuted by a forensic examination of Ms. Hadley's cell phone. DeMore has access to her own data and knows full well that she took these images with her cell phone. Again, y'all, don't mean shit if it's cloned. If someone has your phone cloned, they can do something on your phone as if it's your phone. Isn't that right? I don't know. Maybe, I mean, who knows about phone cloning? From what I understand, they can delete messages, they can delete things, they can add things, they can take pictures. Aside from these lies and false references to me, and also, by the way, just to put the disclaimer in there, and it is the truth, I'm not saying that the phone was cloned. I'm saying that is an allegation. So right now, I don't know who's telling the truth. I don't know who's telling the truth. I don't know who's telling the truth. So since I don't know who's telling the truth, I do need to just put it in there that while Desiree is on this side saying, these are lies, she can look at her own phone and know what's in there. DeMore is saying, yeah, I can look at my own phone and know it got cloned and it was pinging in New York. Desiree goes on. Aside from these lies and false references to manufactured evidence, Mr. Napoleon's filings are intentionally filled with oh, here we go. See, they freaking hate people talking about stuff unless it's them. Mr. Napoleon's filings are intentionally filled with names of purported ROC Nation clients who have nothing to do with this case and buzzwords transparently inserted in a calculated effort to draw media attention and for use in their social media smear campaign. Then Desiree moves on to the fact that DeMore, quote, launched a brutal character assassination against Desiree using social media. Brutal character assassination. For the social media smear campaign to be successful, Desiree says, the media and online, quote, content creators played a significant role in the dissemination of the biased and false information. On May 28th, 2025, within a month of the case being filed, an interview of Mr. Napoleon, that's the lawyer, and DeMore aired on NBC, in which they promoted their false narrative. The same day the story aired, Ms. Hadley implored her social media followers to watch part 1 and part 2 of her interview and like and share. How dare she? How dare she? How dare DeMore tell people to watch her interview and like and share? That brat? Stating that she has stayed silent for too long. Later that day, Javon posted DeMore's interview on NBC6, urging his followers to please help get the story out there. The next day, May 29th, 2025, DeMore reposted the NBC6 interview and urged, please share. I appreciate all your support. Shortly after that, she began posting clips of the interview and, quote, vicious lies related to the case daily. Examples, beginning on June 12th, she participated in at least 10 online interviews by social media content creators who are known to spread scandalous stories and who are not credible bloggers or reporters. Well, I don't know what to tell you because, yeah, actually, you know what? No, I'm not credible. You're right. I'm not credible. So I'll take that. So whenever they try to, I don't know, sue any of these social media content creators, any of these content creators will be able to say, wait, hold on. You said they're not credible. So why would you be worried about what they said? The titles included Defending Your Freedom, the DeMore Hadley story, Betrayals Unveiled, Exposing the Web of Deceit, Power, Psychiatry, and Surveillance, ROC Nation CEO's Daughter Speaks Out, Alleged Abduction, and Baker Act, Corruption. Okay, so thank you for letting me know for whenever I need to launch my own personal defamation lawsuit against any of these people. 10 online interviews by social media content creators. Hold on a second. Let me see where this lawyer went to law school to see if this person has any business putting any disrespect on my motherfucking name. Hold on. Let me just see where they went to law school. This is how you do it. Hold on. Let me see where they went to law school. I'm not even going to say her name because I ain't trying to be in court. Holland and Knight, Miami. Okay. Let me see. Hold on. Probably a good one because that's a good law firm. Oh. Well, tell me about how credible I am. Tell me about how smart I am when you can get into the law school I went to. When you can get into a top 10 law school, then you can run your motherfucking mouth about me. Okay, girl. But until you can get into a law school as high ranked as the one I went to, I don't think you have any business saying I'm not credible. I went to the number 5 law school in the country. Okay. So if she went to Harvard, Yale, I would have had to kiss the ring. Would have had to kiss the ring. However, this bitch couldn't even get into the law school that I got into from what I could see. Now, I'm not saying her name, but all I'm trying to say is do not come for me because it will be very unfortunate for anyone who tries to do so. I have played fair. I have played nice. Go and check my track record. Have I ever lost a lawsuit? Nope. Have I ever won? Yep, 100%. Do not loop me in with some of these freaking lunatics because the very first thing I'm going to do is run and check your CV. And as it turns out, I went to a better law school and graduated from a better law school. So don't come out here and acting like I'm just some little leave my name out your mouth. And they did. And I will say thank you. That was very tasteful. That was very tasteful to leave my name out of it. They redacted it. So again, do I give a shit where somebody went to law school? Hell no. Do I give a shit if they went to law school? No, I don't. But don't use your little position of power to try and make it look like I'm crazy in a lawsuit filing whenever your stupid ass couldn't even go to the law school I went to. Right? You see what I'm saying? Just leave me the fuck alone. Sweetie. Just got to check the CV real quick. Anyway, nobody send any hate. Nobody send any hate or comments or emails. Nobody send any hateful comments, emails, DMs. And if you do, I hope your ass gets fucking sued. If you send something threatening, I will testify against you. That is how adamant I am. How you hating from outside the Ivy League? Ain't nothing wrong with a public school. I went to LSU, go Tigers. But how you hating from outside the Ivy League? Just leave me the fuck out of it. Thank you. Hating from outside the Ivy League? We have a crest, sweetheart. Y'all have a cow. Fitting. Anyway, let me get back to where I was before this low-life scavenger tried to insult me. Okay. Thanks so much, Real Life Hooligan, for the $10 super chat. Thanks so much. Yeah, this is what you have. I have a crest. So just don't try to make comparisons about content creators. Just leave me out of this. But however, I am not a credible blogger. Nothing I say is credible. Nobody listen to me. That's true. I'm not credible. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a credible blogger. I'm not a credible reporter. That's true. You're right. I'm not. You're right. Don't nobody listen to nothing I say. It's all just opinions. Go read stuff for yourself. That's true. I'm not credible. That is true. All right. Anyway, one of the quote content creators who interviewed Demore and launched a multi-part series based upon the interview. Now, this one ain't about me because I didn't have a series. I had one interview. But they talking about somebody. I mean, I don't know who they talking about. One of these so-called content creators who interviewed Demore and then launched a multi-part series based upon the interview is like Miss Hadley, a mentally unwell person who traffics in fantastical conspiracies, including alleging that several performance artists are in cults and are murderers. So again, this isn't me because first of all, I'm not mentally unwell, but I do think that this is interesting because Desiree wants sanctions against Demore for these so-called ad hominem attacks. But she's calling Demore a mentally unwell person, and Demore has said that she's never been diagnosed with a single thing in her life. She's never been on medication for a mental illness. So to say that Demore is mentally unwell and then to imply that some content creator is mentally unwell is an ad hominem attack. Thanks so much, Mr. Lord. Shout out to you. Thanks for that $20 super chat. Ari said, you are the best audiobook with some commentary. I see. I'm reading some of y'all's comments. Okay. Okay. Moving on. So this content creator is a conspiracy theorist, but again, that's not me because I have a multi-part series. Unsurprisingly, this content creator is being sued for defamation. That doesn't mean shit. If you are worth a shit as a content creator, at some point you are going to be sued for defamation. It is a rite of passage. I wish there were protections. For people like us because, the anti-SLAPP laws just aren't cutting it. That being said, lots of people are sued for defamation who are absolutely not liable and who are absolutely innocent and are not guilty or liable for defamation. You can sue for defamation. You can sue anybody for damn anything in the United States of America. It sucks. Sue now, ask questions later. It sucks. I'm about $1 million in debt. Or in legal fees. I shouldn't say in debt. I mean, I have paid some of them, but it's just because somebody got sued for defamation don't mean shit. I need to see, did they lose? That's what I need to see. I'm not the subject of that accusation. Jasmine said, BJ, I come to you for all the info. Most of the other YouTube bloggers are so biased and uninformed. It is disgusting. And that's the thing. Like, I tell y'all when I'm biased, I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm so credible. I'm not credible. Don't listen to shit I say. Everything I say, go fact check it. Don't listen to everything I say. Go fact check me. If I'm wrong, let me know. Not everything I say is a fact. Most things I say here are opinions, beliefs, jokes, hyperbole. But don't put me in the same bucket with people that are out here, shilling for people. And that's what I don't like. Who out of this group of people, these 10 content creators, went to the University of Pennsylvania law school? That's what I want to know. A better law school than the person writing this document or submitting it. Again, I wasn't even trying to play that game. Y'all didn't even hear me say I went to law school until that shit came up. Hold up. I bite back, baby girl. I bite back, ruff. I bark back. Keep that shit over there. And the big dog's going to stay on the porch. All right? Keep that shit over there. What is notable, however, is that all the interviews of Miss Hadley were released after Rock Nation filed for a gag order. Who gives a shit? There was no gag order in place. People have a First Amendment right to do an interview if they feel like it. She had a legal right. It wasn't put in place yet. And I would not interview somebody. But just let the record reflect. I would not interview somebody and publish an interview while a gag order was in place. I might interview somebody while a gag order was in place privately and keep the tape, depending on the circumstances. I would not interview somebody while a gag order was in place and release the tape publicly. I would never do that. I would never do that. When I interviewed her, there was no gag order in place. And I'm not saying they're even accusing me of doing this, but now that they're just starting to like vaguely say content creator and put content creator in quotes, they're calling other people mentally unwell. I see where it's headed. And I'm telling you, y'all aren't going to have a good time down. Don't bark up this fucking tree. There's some people you can actually go after, and that's where the direction you need to be headed. Because there are biased people out here. There are people who share things. There are people who put private things up there. That's not me. That's not me. There are people who make false allegations, accusations as if they are facts. That ain't me. So do not, baby girls, baby boys, baby uncles, baby aunties, do not confuse me with one of those people, because that's going to be a very, very sad day and a very, very sad life if you do so. Leave me out of this. I did one freaking interview and I hadn't even talked to the girl. I barely even retweet her shit because they have us so goddamn scared. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now we're on the edge of our seat like, ooh, who's the 10? It ain't motherfucker, ain't me. Huh. It ain't me. And I promise you, a federal judge has already agreed. The stuff I say over here is not actionable. It's opinions. Leave me out of this shit. Why am I saying that? Because this is my video. Rock Nation CEO's daughter speaks out. One clause later, they call somebody mentally unwell. It's almost like they real close to calling me mentally unwell. So I'm just going to caution. Not to do that. Because all I'm doing over here is reading. All right. I'm reading. I'm giving opinions. In the United States of America, where I'm a citizen, that's allowed. If you want to live somewhere that ain't allowed, move there, bitch. Because I'll get riled up. Critically, Mr. Napoleon refused Rock Nation's request. Oh, also one more other thing. I don't practice law and I'm not a licensed attorney. This is not legal advice. You see what we have to do because you see what they do. They will take anything and make it anything. And that's what makes it seem less credible. Because I can't really tell you about Demore and a listening device and what their relationship, and Javon never have spoken to Javon Hadley. So I can't tell you about all that. All I can do is say, I don't know, I wasn't there. But what I can certainly tell you is the person who's trying to make it seem like maybe I'm a mentally unwell content creator, maybe I'm just in the same bucket with all of them, didn't go to as good of a law school as I did. So since we're wanting to pull out ad hominem insults, I got a few in my pocket too, buddy. I got a few in my pocket too, from the trailer park to the Ivy League. So there's really nobody and nothing I really can't square up with. I'm trying to be nice to y'all, but you're going to leave me and my good name the fuck out your bullshit. That's what you definitely going to do. Mr. Napoleon refused Rock Nation's requests that Demore asked that the interviews not be released, given the court's order regarding extrajudicial statements. So Rock Nation told the lawyer to get in touch with the content creators that had still not released their video. I think that was the Xavier or respectfully Xavier, some other one, Tasha K, I don't know, whoever else. But the lawyer for Demore said, I'm not reaching out to them people and telling them not to put them interviews out. They can do what they want. Now, again, this doesn't apply to me because my interview was already out. And I didn't talk to her since. Or her lawyer. I've never spoken to her lawyer either. Miss Hadley even created a name for her social media campaign, Justice for Demore, and provided information about how to get specific updates on her case and interviews. That's fine. Nobody cares. Like, you're allowed to update people on your case if there's no gag order. In online interviews, Ms. Hadley specifically encouraged hosts and other online users to support her campaign and help spread the word about her version of events surrounding the lawsuit. In one interview, DeMore admitted that her false online profiles had always been private until the lawsuit. Ms. Hadley clearly made her online profiles public on various social media sites to specifically further her false claims. The social media smear campaign comprised of millions of posts. Okay, is this true? Millions of posts? Many made by bots, not real humans. Well, they would know. In my opinion, I don't really know. Ms. Hadley's online interviews, and they echo the false claims made in pleadings and other filings, including that Desiree sought to have Javon arrested and separate the Hadleys because she was a racist, because she planted a listening device and a recording device in DeMore's bedroom, and that there was no basis for Desiree or others to be concerned about DeMore's mental health. And this is the footnote. Contrary to the false narrative, DeMore's own recorded notes, text messages, and saved notes confirmed that she felt dead inside and was suffering from depression. Moreover, close family members were reporting that DeMore was covered in bruises and was not acting like herself. Like, God forbid the girl take a jujitsu class or something, I mean, goddamn. Finally, and most alarmingly, family members observed that DeMore was both paranoid and delusional, telling wildly exaggerated and fictitious stories that were so outlandish they were obviously false. Again, no proof. And this is where a little bit of my bias does come in. And I want to just say, this type of stuff has been said about me in court, and it was false. It's like, she's so delusional. She's so this, that, she's so da-da-da. It's obvious, period. Move on, next sentence. It's like, well, where's the evidence? She should have known. Obviously there's actual malice. She knew it wasn't true. It's like, well, where's the evidence? They just like to talk like they know what I know. They just like to talk like they know what DeMore knows. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. But it does make my antenna kind of go beep boop beep boop. Wee woo wee woo. The daily posts and interviews propagated the false narrative that there was no altercation on September 11, 2023, and that Desiree made it all up, called the police to have them swatted. The purpose of this false narrative was to fuel bias and incite the public, as well as to attack and harass defendants, consolidated plaintiffs, and even a lawyer for some of the consolidated plaintiffs. Indeed, DeMore published vicious lies and defamatory statements about Desiree and even posted personal facts and contact information for defendants, witnesses, and one of the lawyers in the case. They are leaving out that this was public contact me page on Reed Smith's website. Maybe there's something else I don't know about. But from what I know, these quote personal facts and contact information for defendants, witnesses, is like a lawyer about me page that's public. So, I mean, two pages above, they're like, it was public anyway. Well, okay, take that sentence and copy paste it right here, baby girl. Even worse, it became apparent when DeMore's lawyer approved of and supported these despicable and utterly improper social media attacks. Clear effort to influence public opinion about the case despite knowing he had already violated court rules by participating in the NBC interview. The lawyer's refusals to have the Hadleys cease social media posts until the court intervened are revealing. Ms. Hadley repeatedly references her attorney in social interviews and implies that he has advised her as to what she can say in the interviews. Rather than cease and desist when the gag order was entered, DeMore immediately violated the gag order by posting a clip of an inflammatory interview on her Instagram and X accounts. That same evening, in a calculated move. Again, like, did she post a video clip or did she accept a collaboration? Because these are different. That same evening, in a calculated move, DeMore further violated the gag order by posting a video and audio recording of an illegally obtained private conversation. And you will know that, to my knowledge, I've never reposted this, between Desiree and her stepsister discussing personal and business matters. The recording was selectively edited to remove the important and highly relevant part of the conversation in which Desiree discussed her heartache about DeMore, her daughter's abuse at the hands of Mr. Hadley. Finally, in an attempt to embarrass Desiree, DeMore added captions to the recording to ensure the public could follow the discussion. Okay, so interestingly, Desiree is saying that this is a private conversation that was illegally obtained, but she don't say it's fake. I don't know if that's something that y'all are paying attention to or care about, but she doesn't deny that it's real. She doesn't say it was a fake, inaccurate video. She says it was private and illegally obtained. The recording was unauthorized by Desiree, who owns and controls the home security system through which Miss Hadley, that's DeMore, unlawfully obtained it. Importantly, the subject matter is entirely irrelevant to Miss Hadley's claims. Yeah, I think the subject matter was like they needed $40 million or something. I don't remember. Nonetheless, the timing, the content, and the nature of the post turned illegally intercepted private family discussions into a public spectacle, deliberately inviting harassment, inflicting embarrassment, and undermining the integrity of these proceedings. Javon joined in this concerted effort to cause maximum reputational damage, as well as to circumvent and undermine the court's directive. Following the court's gag order, Javon brazenly published over 100 posts on his social media accounts sharing DeMore's violative posts and posts directly referencing and challenging the court's gag order. On July 8th, 2025, Mr. Hadley even shared a post encouraging followers to sign a petition requesting reconsideration of the gag order. Millions of the Justice for DeMore related posts and reposts have flooded social media, propagated by bots and content creators known to be paid for negative posts and false narratives. Well, since I know they watch my videos, I would like to say so that they are on notice. I've never once in my life ever accepted money to make a video, false or positive, negative or truth. Okay. So now you're on notice, because that apparently, according to your own filing, that's how you give someone notice. You just tell them, and then all of a sudden you can never say that again. Okay. So I know you're not talking about me. That's all I'm going to say. I know they're not talking about me. I know they're not talking about me, because certainly I'm not a content creator known to be paid for negative posts and false narratives. No, they're not talking about me. No, they're not. The posts are meant to incite, harass, and encourage others online to engage in a brutal hate campaign against Miss Perez, her business, consolidated plaintiffs, and attorney for certain consolidated plaintiffs, that's Laura Gatz, and other defendants in the case. So just so y'all know, please do not incite, harass, or encourage others online to engage in any campaign, be it brutal hate or otherwise, against Ms. Perez or her businesses. Please do not incite, harass, or encourage others online to engage in a brutal hate campaign against consolidated plaintiffs. Please, I am demanding that you do not incite, harass, or encourage others online to engage in a brutal hate campaign against any attorneys for any certain consolidated plaintiffs. And also, please, finally, do not incite, harass, and encourage others online to engage in a brutal hate campaign against any other defendants in this case. If you do so and you are sued, I will be a witness against you. Okay? Thank you. The social media campaign is so aggressive in its harassment, intimidation, and defamatory statements that one lawyer was forced to obtain a temporary restraining order against DeMore. Okay, but that's now been withdrawn. Okay, so now this is new information has been added here. So I'm hoping they're going to correct their filing, because what was one of the things they were mad at was that when DeMore and her lawyer find out things are not true, they don't update their filings. They keep saying that stuff in filings. Well, it's not true anymore that there's an outstanding restraining order. So this needs to be updated as to not be misleading. After initially denying knowledge of his client's violative posts, the lawyer, Mr. Napoleon, assured counsel that the posts would be promptly removed and subsequently confirmed via text message they had been deleted. But contrary to his assurances, the offending posts remained publicly accessible, compelling counsel to again demand compliance from Mr. Napoleon. The Hadleys violated the court's gag order by maintaining their own posts, allowing Miss Hadley's interviews about the case to air, and behind the scenes promoting thousands of social media posts, reposts, and redistribution of Miss Hadley's posts continued over a month. Well, that wasn't through me because nobody contacted me telling me to share and repost and none of that. So, I mean, not to my knowledge. Maybe they did and I didn't open the message, but I didn't see it. It wasn't until the magistrate judge, Lewis, intervened at a hearing on July 31st, 2025, that the Hadleys were forced to remove the postings after the gag order, that they made after the gag order from their social media accounts. And this was only after initially and improperly refusing to stipulate to the authenticity and the admissibility of their own posts. The agreed upon sanction to be paid jointly and severally by the Hadleys is $2,500 for the posts, reposts, and replies on social media after the gag order. Notably, Desiree and ROC Nation offered to forego a monetary sanction if the Hadleys agreed to remove all postings related to the case or its parties prior to the court's gag order. So they wanted everything. So they are freaking goddamn people with money sometimes, y'all. I swear to God. I feel like we should live on different planets. Cause like, I don't want to live on the earth with people that act like this. I feel like they should have their own planet. Can we just get 2 planets? They were using this leveraging. Speaking of leverage, they get so pissed about leverage, but they just literally admitted in their filing, look, here it is. Tell me if I'm wrong. They got this measly little, stupid little $2,500, which is nothing to the likes of Desiree Perez or ROC Nation. Nothing. It could go missing and they wouldn't freaking know. But to Demore and Javon, I'm sure it's a lot more substantive. You know, they don't own ROC Nation or whatever, to my knowledge. So they have to pay $2,500 because they got sanctioned for posting after the gag order. And Desiree and ROC Nation, both, according to their file, to Desiree's filing, right here, offered, okay, you don't have to pay us that. If the Hadleys agree to remove all postings related to the case or its parties made prior to the gag order. Tellingly, the Hadley team refused and chose to pay $2,500 instead of agreeing to remove all the postings. So Desiree wanted Demore and Javon to remove all of the posts ever made, even before the gag order, which makes me start to think that maybe it actually truly was them who had my video struck. I mean, I can tell you the video, which it's now back up, but you know, they did copyright strike it. It said it was the 40/40 Club that owned the contract or that owned the copyright. But it was like something gmail.com. And I'm like, I don't know if a law firm would be using a gmail.com address. But now I'm starting to think it could have actually been them because they didn't even want those interviews up. The ones that happened before the gag order, they didn't even want that up. This other thing too, like, yeah, okay. So despite receiving a clear directive to focus on the litigation and not social media, their lawyer recently informed the undersigned that he plans to seek the court's permission to establish a GoFundMe page to pay the agreed upon $2,500 sanction. So the lawyer, I mean, again, $2,500 is a lot of money for some people. It's a lot for me. Probably a lot for Javon and Demore, especially considering the legal costs I can imagine that they're probably racking up at this very moment. So they want to set up a GoFundMe. And Desiree doesn't even want him to be able to do that. And this is where, again, in my opinion, she starts to lose even more credibility. Because it seems like vicious and evil and lawfare Despite receiving clear directive to focus on the litigation and not social media, the lawyer for Demore has recently informed the lawyers for Roc Nation and Desiree and them, or the lawyer for Desiree, that Demore's lawyer is going to seek the court's permission to establish a GoFundMe page to pay the agreed upon $2,500 sanction, despite foregoing the option to pay $0, which will undoubtedly serve to draw only more attention to the case on social media. I bet the fuck it will. Excuse my language. I bet it will, because I can guarantee you it ain't even going to take a whole day before that $2,500 goal is passed. I believe that this bully doesn't want Demore to be able to have that financial help. Because I know personally from being in litigation with bullies myself, in my opinion, sociopath, narcissistic, in my opinion, bullies. One of the things they get so pissed about with their little bots get so pissed about is that y'all donate money to my legal fund. They get so freaking pissed. And what's the reason for that? Because without y'all donating to the legal fund, I would never, ever have been able to fight it. That is most likely, in my opinion, what they were counting on. Most likely, in my opinion, what they were counting on. And that is most likely, in my opinion, what the strategy is here. And they also scared of this. Draw more attention to the case on social media. This request from Hadley team reinforces that the social media campaign is their priority. Or maybe they just don't have $2,500 to pay your stupid, ugly ass. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Could be that. I'm not sure that it reinforces the social media campaign is their priority. I think it reinforces they need $2,500 to pay you. And I will happily share that link once it's public. Enlisting third parties to assist in amplifying the vicious social media campaign. In what is perhaps the most outrageous and unethical behavior of all is bothering to tell people publicly about what happened. That's unethical and outrageous to Desiree. According to deposition testimony in another matter pending in the Southern District of Florida, made a few days ago, the Hadley team communicated with a content creator in a Florida case. In mid-July 2025, one social media personality stated under oath that Mr. Hadley, that Javon, had reached out to her. Okay, so in mid-July 2025, one social media personality stated under oath. Who could this be? In mid-July, so last month, so like a month ago, one social media personality stated under oath that Javon had reached out to her, so it must be a woman, about her blog and asked her to repost some of Demore's posts about the case. According to the content creator, she later spoke with the lawyer directly about interviewing Ms. Hadley regarding his lawsuit. Specifically, Mr. Napoleon instructed her to focus the interview on Ms. Hadley's claims in this case. So what? The lawyer can't say, yeah, just ask about stuff in this case. The content creator. Who is this content creator under oath last month that the lawyer contacted? Who's a her? Who was under oath last month? Mid-July 2025. Tasha? Millie? No. Millie? Is she allowed to talk about this case? Does she talk about this? They talking about Milagro, allegedly. The content creator recalled that Ms. Hadley was rushing to be interviewed because she feared a gag order was imminent, presumably because Roc Nation had already filed a motion seeking a gag order. This social media, and that's on Exhibit N. So if y'all want to like do any more specific searches into like which transcript this is, they include like a transcript excerpt, Exhibit N, a deposition from July 21st, 2025, social media content creator. This social media individual is only one of a small group of online posters who are known to aggressively post negative and inciting information. Again, they're not talking about me. They're most certainly not talking about me. In some cases for money, and they use bots to significantly multiply the number of repostings. I have no idea how to use a bot, so they're not talking about me. The content creator, disseminator, deposed is known to be an ardent supporter of Tory Lanez. Desiree and Roc Nation openly supported Megan Thee Stallion. Tory Lanez has since paid online social media content creators to launch social media attacks against Roc Nation. So was it actually proven that Tory Lanez paid any social media content creators to launch social media attacks against Roc Nation using bots and smear campaign tactics? I don't know. Me personally, you can look at the views I get and know that it ain't bots. The attack, because it's not enough. If I had access to bots, I promise you I'll be giving myself more views. The attacks include a false narrative. And also, I wouldn't use bots, by the way. I wouldn't do that because there's no way to do it where it's untraceable. And it's also just stupid. I also think that it's like you could get in trouble. It doesn't make sense to do that. My priority isn't getting views. If it were, I would talk about different topics. My priority is saying what I need to say with the platform that I have. I'm putting this out there because I know these people watch my videos. So I'm just differentiating myself so that they know and that they are aware so that they do not include me in these false and defamatory, harmful claims in their lawfare. As long as they keep my name out of it, we're going to be all right. The attacks include a false narrative that the shooting never happened. So they're just pulling Tory Lanez case into this for no reason. These third parties use the false narrative to fabricate and spread even more grossly exaggerated lies, such as that Desiree is in a Mexican cartel, that she was watching Mr. and Mrs. Hadley have relations, and that she was trying to keep the Hadleys apart because she is a racist. The lie that she is a racist is contradicted by an online interview of Demore in which she states that Desiree offered Javon a job at Roc Nation, offering him millions of dollars, and he turned it down. Okay, wait, hold on. Is she trying to say there's no racist boss? There's no racist football team coach owner? There's nobody racist that's ever hired somebody they're like whose race they're racist against? Please, come on. Come on, y'all. This is 2025. We're outside of the kindergarten class. Can we please? Come on. Other contradictory lies include that Desiree whispered racist words in Demore's ears while Desiree was punching and pushing her, which makes no sense. Okay, so since it makes no sense to this lawyer who did not go to a top 10 law school, by the way, I just want to put that out there. Since it makes no sense to this lawyer who did not go to a top 10 law school, then it must be false. Even false allegations about the supposed camera Desiree planted change from being placed in the front of the shower in the bathroom to inside the Hadleys' bedroom. There are too many lies and personal attacks to list. As the court is aware, Ms. Hadley's social media attacks against one of the lawyers were so egregious that in June 2025, a circuit court in the 11th Judicial Circuit, Domestic Violence Division, issued a temporary restraining order. And again, this is another tactic that was used against me. They do this thing called ambush litigation, where a lot of associated parties, a lot of friends, if you want to call them that, people who know each other, will team up and file their own shit across the country. Boom, 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 boom. Now you have to get lawyers everywhere. Somebody will file for a restraining order in Georgia. Somebody else will apply for one over there in California. Somebody will apply for one in LA County, Orange County. You're fighting something in New Jersey. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Man, we're serving you another temporary restraining order. Bang, 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 bang. Bulletproof vest. Bang, 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 bang. Here's a process server with a big box. Could be anthrax. Who goddamn knows? To just have you shook. Now, unfortunately for them, I'm God's favorite. Unfortunately for them, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And I think they've now started to learn that. However, this is one thing that happened. They lost, in my case, the federal lawsuit. And right at the same time as the New Jersey federal case was getting dismissed, now they went over here to get a temporary restraining order. So that then when they were amending the New Jersey one to try to, get it heard again, they were like, and there's been a temporary restraining order granted against this maniac. She's just so dangerous. She's just a cyber harasser and a cyber stalker. Well, guess the fuck what? That temporary restraining order that they wanted to use for that lawfare, she now owes me $87,000 because it was a slap suit. Also $10,000 in sanctions and another $2,500 in sanctions over in another county. Okay. So yeah, it wasn't fun to have them use this bullshit against me, but it's like, this is another thing that it's like, I just know that these things can be used in a malicious way. And so it makes it very difficult for me, when combined with the other credibility issues that I've pointed out here, to believe anything Desiree Perez says. It's hard to believe her. That's my opinion. Put it in the comments if you disagree. I don't know what's true, what's not. I wasn't there, so I can only speculate. Yeah, an inflamed beast. Yep. And then they'll go and be each other's witnesses. She did it to me too, Your Honor. Me too, Your Honor. Big 6'4", 475-pound oaf, acting like he's scared of me. Okay. The lawyer representing Miss Hadley in that action filed more than 100-page motion, mostly attacking Miss Perez and her lawyer. Notably, July 29th, 2025, a Zoom here. Oh, they're pissed. Are the Barbs in the chat who were at that hearing? Oh my God, they're pissed. Notably, on July 29th, 2025, a Zoom hearing was scheduled in the temporary restraining order matter. And inorganically, like, how the fuck would these losers even fucking know this? They start getting on my nerves around page 15. Where are we on? 15. Yep. It's just like losers. I'm sorry. It's just losers. Like that's what y'all are giving. Like, that's just losers. You're just a fucking loser. A Zoom hearing was scheduled in the fake TRO matter and people showed up. Wah! Dozens of content creators. Wah! I wasn't in there, for the record. I told y'all leave my name out of it because I wasn't even in there. And other online personalities logged into the hearing to support Miss Hadley. Wah! About 8 of the online personalities were designated as witnesses. In response to this obvious setup, the court adjourned and changed the hearing from Zoom to in person. One of the intended witnesses was a content creator with the handle name Vegetabarb, who is associated with the Hadley team and has an entire social media page that endlessly discusses this case and attacks all defendants in this litigation. After the hearing was completed, Vegeta of Gag City went on X Spaces and did a post-hearing live stream debrief. God forbid somebody go to a hearing and talk about it online that day. Y'all, it is getting serious out here. Can you believe somebody that went to court updated the public about what happened in court? Wow. Guilty. Put him in jail right now. Guilt Guilt, immediate. During the live stream, which is recorded, so it's stating that Miss Hadley was also in the live stream. So DeMore was in the live stream. Now, even though she can't talk, she's not even allowed to go inside somebody else's live stream. Can't believe it. The audacity. About her own case. During the live stream, which is recorded, the content creator affirmatively indicated that he had spoken to DeMore's lawyer and that he, the content creator, was authorized to provide an update on what had occurred earlier that day in state court. Finally, it seems that the Hadley team has been involved with an X account using the handle DeMore docket. Oh, they pissed at this one too. They don't like the DeMore docket. Described as covering legal news around DeMore and Javon Hadley. Justice for DeMore, fan-made and operated updates from the docket. Notably, this account was created April 2025, but only began furiously posting the false narratives surrounding these matters on July 11th, 2025. The same day, Ms. Perez and her family filed a motion for an order to show cause why Hadley should not be ordered to remove the post gag order social media posts. The DeMore docket has made over 500 social media posts about these matters in just 30 days. In a surprise to exactly no one, the DeMore docket X page has a header with a quote by Charles Bukowski about censorship. And that quote also appears on DeMore's Instagram page. So it appears that the Hadley team is encouraging or paying the fans to serially post about her and her litigation, or the Hadley team are controlling these X accounts themselves. The DeMore docket remains active and continues to post about this case. And then the final thing here is Mr. Napoleon's neglect of the civil case. Meanwhile, distracted by their primary goal of a social media smear campaign, Mr. Napoleon has repeatedly dismissed important deadlines and has repeatedly missed important deadlines and failed to comply with the court's rules. For example, he was more than 45 days late in his initial disclosures, despite receiving defendants' disclosures timely. The lawyer also has repeatedly objected to motions, such as a motion for leave to file an amended complaint against Javon, but then he failed to file a response detailing the objection to the requested relief. This is an obvious unprofessional tactic aimed at increasing costs and disruption for the plaintiffs, for the consolidated plaintiffs. DeMore's lawyer's repeated disregard for the rules and deadlines further support that litigating this case is not the Hadley team's objective, and their objective is a false, fake, defamatory social media smear campaign. Okay, girl. Thank you, The Life of Samad, for the £4.99 super chat. Slave masters could also be seen as employers. Does that mean they weren't racist? That is what I want to know. I mean, it's like, look, I'm not even trying to say Desiree Perez is racist. I don't know. Clearly, I'm not the decider of if somebody's a racist or not. I don't know. I've never met her. I've never spoken to her. I don't know if she's a racist, but I don't know for sure she's not a racist. There are a lot of racists, and I do know for sure there are racist bosses who are racist against people they hire and pay millions of dollars to. There are racist managers who are racist against their clients. There's racists who pay people money to do jobs. So, I mean, it doesn't, yeah, I mean, I think that's what you're saying. That's definitely what I think. Like, I'm not saying she's racist. I don't know if she's racist. DeMore said that. DeMore said she's racist. But whether she is or whether she isn't, necessarily like the question. The question was, did she prove she's not a racist because she offered somebody a job? No. I don't think so. Thanks so much for the $4.99. No, I'm not letting it slide at all. Because like here's the thing too, y'all. Like I'm not like gang with all content creators either. Like some people are out here acting freaking crazy. Some people are out here airing stuff I would never air. Some people are out here saying stuff I would never say, making allegations that I would never make. And I don't want to be clumped into a group with anybody. Like I really don't like groups like that. Like, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not an independent. I don't want to be in any of these things. I don't want to be associated with it. I don't have a law license. I don't want to be associated with those freaks that have, those stupid rules that make no sense. I don't like it. So I actually go very far out of my way to kind of stay on an island over here. You don't see me doing a whole bunch of collaborations. You don't see me doing a whole bunch of having Kiki this person on, Kiki that person on, going on their channel, going on this channel. I'll talk about my opinion. I'll talk about some more educational things. But this is my house. This is what I do. This is me. This is me. I don't want to be dragged in anybody else's bullshit. And I don't want to, unfortunately, I can't be dragged in anybody else's non-bullshit either because I have my own stuff going on. So I don't appreciate that my video title was put in the list just a clause or two before the mentally unwell, whatever. Y'all say what y'all got to say about people, but leave me out of this because I don't do that stuff like what other people are doing. I never said that the celebrities are murderers. I did not say that. So do not associate me with that. Do not. I have been very fair. I have been very, very neutral. I have not made allegations and accusations as if they are facts. I have given my opinion, which I am allowed to do in the United States of America. And if you do not like it, do not live here. It is truly simply that simple. Truly. Get your ass on a plane, a boat, put a life jacket on and swim somewhere, bitch. I don't care. We have the right to say our opinions in the United States of America. Last time I checked. Who knows? Tomorrow we might wake up and that might be gone. So with my last breath, I'm going to be saying what I want to say. That being said, I'm not saying Desiree Perez is a racist. I didn't say that. And I'm not saying that. I don't know. Am I going to be surprised to find out? If we find out she is, hell no. Hell no. But if we find out Desiree's not a racist, could be. But since none of the parties in this case are allowed to talk about it, I figure somebody should be allowed to talk about it. I figured this issue of public interest, this issue of public concern ought to be talked about by somebody. And since nobody in the case is allowed to talk about it, why can't I? That being said, I'm not being fed information. I haven't been paid. I do not accept payment to make videos. Have you ever even seen a sponsorship on this channel? Facts ain't defamation. Tupac has said I'm straight back at behind the tracks today. Sometimes you got to go behind the tracks. It's just sometimes you got to take it full trailer park. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm truly like, the thing is, like, what more can I do? I know y'all get tired of hearing all the disclaimers. I know y'all get tired of seeing them scrolling across. I mean, I should have to have a seizure warning for all the disclaimers I have to have scrolling across all the time. And it's just simply never enough. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. So y'all just don't want people to talk about the case at goddamn fucking all. Like at all. You just don't want nobody talking about it. Okay, got it. Yep. Once they include people in the case, they're gagged. No. Give me liberty or give me death. I'm packed up, prayed up, ready to go up. I am just about as silenced and censored as I'm going to be. All right. I am just about as silenced and censored as I'm going to be. Because at some point, there's only so far you can take the good faith. You know what I mean? And if this is how they've been handling litigation with everybody who has sued Rock Nation, I think a federal investigation into vexatious litigation needs to happen. That's my opinion. I'm not accusing anyone of a crime. I'm saying the feds should investigate and determine if there has been any criminal activity. Because people that use the litigation, civil justice system, how they want to call it, like this, I'm wondering what's in the closets. I'm wondering. Anyway, that's all I really had for this one. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation, and neither are opinions. Love you, meaning, okay, bye.